Russian naval forces have significantly escalated their Black Sea operations with the sinking of another Ukrainian naval vessels, further diminishing Ukraine's ability to challenge Russian maritime dominance in the region. The attack occurred near the Odessa coastline where multiple anti-ship missiles struck the vessels, identified as a former Soviet-era frigate that had been refurbished with NATO assistance. This maritime engagement represents a continued pattern of Russian efforts to enforce a blockade of Ukrainian ports and limit commercial shipping, including grain exports that remain severely constrained despite the establishment of temporary corridors. The sinking demonstrates Russia's continued ability to project power in the Black Sea despite Ukrainian claims of having degraded the Black Sea fleet through previous drone and missile attacks. In a coordinated escalation, Russian forces launched a massive aerial bombardment targeting central Kyiv, with missiles striking the British Council Cultural Center and European Union Administrative Office. The deliberate targeting of diplomatic and cultural buildings signals a dangerous expansion of Russia's willingness to attack non-military targets associated with Western powers. The strikes have reduced sections of these buildings to rubble, with emergency crews working through the night to search for survivors trapped under collapsed structures. Ukrainian authorities have reported numerous fatalities in the capital alone, with dozens more injured across multiple districts of the city. The widespread damage to civilian infrastructure has left many neighborhoods without power or running water, creating a humanitarian crisis amid the ongoing bombardment. Military analysts now believe the massive attack on Kyiv may have served as a strategic diversion for a more significant Russian maneuver elsewhere. While the world's attention was focused on the capital, Russian forces were quietly advancing on the northern eastern city of Sumy, nearly encircling the strategic settlement close to the Russian border. Ukrainian intelligence sources report that Russian troops have moved mechanized units through border areas that were previously considered more secure, creating a potential pocket that could trap several Ukrainian brigades. The Sumy region has been subjected to increased shelling in recent weeks, but the current movement represents a qualitative shift in Russian tactics from artillery bombardment to coordinated armored advancement. This encirclement strategy threatened to create another Bakhmut-style siege situation that would force Ukraine to divert already stretched resources from other fronts. President Zelensky has expressed shock at the speed of this encirclement, which comes as Russian forces intensify their offensive across multiple fronts. The grinding Russian offensive in eastern Ukraine has reached record level of intensity, with over 2,600 battles recorded in July alone, representing the highest number since Russia launched its full-scale invasion in early 2022. Russian forces have been closing in on the towns of Pokrovsk and Kostiantynivka in the Donetsk region and on Kupiansk in the Kharkiv region, while advancing further toward the Dnipropetrovsk region. In a likely effort to stretch understaffed Ukrainian forces thin, Russia has created additional hotspots in the border area of the Kharkiv region and reactivated the front line in the Zaporizhia region. Following these attacks, Russian President Vladimir Putin issued his first direct warning to Western powers, stating that any continued support for Ukraine would result in unprecedented consequences for their own security interests. The statement, delivered through Kremlin channels, specifically mentioned recent security agreement between Ukraine and NATO members as red lines that Russia would no longer tolerate. The warning contained explicit language about Russia's nuclear capabilities, though it stopped short of making direct nuclear threat. This psychological warfare approach appears designed to test the resolve of the international community, and particularly the new administration in Washington. The statement further emphasized that Russia considers all weapons delivery to Ukraine as legitimate target, whether located in Ukraine territory or in transit through neighboring countries. The American response to Putin's warning and the escalated attack has been characterized by observers as unexpectedly cautious. The Trump administration, through Secretary of State Marco Rubio, issued a statement condemning the violence but notably avoiding any specific commitment to accelerate weapon deliveries or new defensive system for Ukraine. The statement emphasized the need for diplomatic solutions and direct negotiations between the parties, language that differs significantly from the previous administration's approach. This response comes after a week-long pause in U.S. shipments of weapons and equipment to Ukraine last month, which raised concerns about the consistency of American support. The relatively cautious American reaction suggests that the Trump administration may be re-evaluating its approach to the conflict entirely, potentially seeking to disengage from what some advisors reportedly see as an unsustainable commitment. The bombing of the British Council building represents a significant escalation in targeting policy, as Russia has largely avoided direct attack on properties associated with NATO members beyond Ukraine's border. The British Council is the United Kingdom's international organization for cultural relations and educational opportunities, operating in over 100 countries worldwide. Its office in Kyiv had been operational throughout much of the conflict, providing English language teaching and cultural programming even during the most dangerous periods of fighting. The complete destruction of this facility sends a clear message that Russia no longer distinguishes between Ukrainian and Western-affiliated civilian installation. Similarly, the EU office that were damaged served as a coordination center for humanitarian aid and reconstruction efforts, making their targeting particularly symbolic as an attack on international efforts to support Ukraine's resilience. The situation in Sumy has created particular concerns because of the city's proximity to the Russian border and its importance as a regional transportation hub. If Russian forces succeed in completely encircling the city, they could replicate tactics used in Mariupol and Bakhmut, where urban warfare drains Ukrainian resources and resulted in significant casualties. The population of Sumy includes many internally displaced persons who fled from more eastern regions already occupied by Russia, making evacuation logistic particularly challenging. Humanitarian organizations report that access to the city is becoming increasingly difficult as Russian forces deliberately target roads and infrastructure needed for civilian movement. The Ukrainian government has initiated emergency evacuation procedures, but these efforts are hampered by ongoing artillery and rocket attacks on exit routes. Russia's combined operation demonstrates a coordinated approach to warfare that has not been evident in previous phases of the conflict. The simultaneous attacks across different domains suggest improved command and control capabilities and better integration of planning between different branches of the Russian military. This development contradicts early assessment that Russia had lost much of its capability for complex joint operations due to equipment losses and personnel shortage. Western intelligence agencies are now reassessing their evaluations of Russian military effectiveness, with some analysts suggesting that Russia has successfully reconstituted damaged units and incorporate lessons learned from earlier failure in the conflict. This improved performance poses significant challenges for Ukrainian forces already struggling with manpower and ammunition shortage after years of intense fighting. The targeting of cultural and diplomatic installation in Kyiv has drawn widespread international condemnation beyond the official statements from affected governments. The deliberate destruction of cultural institutions has been characterized as not just a military tactic, but an attempt to erase Ukrainian identity and international connections. Historical precedent shows that attacks on cultural sites often precede broader campaigns against civilian populations, making this development particularly alarming for humanitarian organizations monitoring the situation. Various international bodies have called for the protection of cultural heritage sites throughout Ukraine, though these appeals seem unlikely to influence Russian targeting decisions given the current escalation patterns. As the situation develops, the key question remains whether Russia's latest offensive represents a maximum effort to achieve breakthrough before winter, or merely the initial phase of a longer campaign designed to stretch Ukrainian defenses beyond their breaking points. The answer to this question will determine how Ukraine and its international partners respond in the coming days. The relatively cautious American reaction suggests that the Trump administration may be reevaluating its approach to the conflict entirely, potentially seeking to disengage from what some advisors reportedly see as an unsustainable commitment. For European nations, the attack on EU offices in Kyiv represents a direct challenge that may force a more unified and robust response. Though divisions within the EU regarding the conflict continues to complicate decision-making process. That's all for me for today. If you like the video presentation and you would like to follow for more, hit that subscribe and like button now. And we will continue to build this show for you. Thank you to all of you guys who have subscribed. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much. I will see you soon. Bye for now.